The following is a presentation of the Controltrends podcasting network.
Welcome to ControlTalk, now your smart buildings video cast and podcast for the week ending June 30th, 2019. This is episode 322, where we talk about all things smart building controls and whatever else the man, the myth, the legend, your co-host of mine, Kenny Smyers, wants to talk about. So with that, welcome to the show, Kenny Smyers.
Hey, well, thank you. I hope we're going to get, I hope I didn't get blown away. Like you said, Dorothy, we're getting real serious weather here. I mean, we've had just a horrible, the rain, I don't know where it's all coming from, but now we're getting like, it's some kind of tropical storm coming here. Cause
I've watched the thing change. My question for you is, do you have the ruby slippers just in case the tornado does come and picks up the
I don't have them, but my wife might. So I'm going to go check in her closet because I'm not afraid to wear them if I have to.
Well, listen, we got an awesome show. We're going to probably hurry this part up a little bit. But Kenny Smyers and I, we were on the road again yesterday, Friday. We were in our nation's capital. That's all we're going to say right now. But we're going to talk about what we were doing a little bit with one of our guests. So, but Kenny, I tell you what do you say we get to it, man? We got our first guest lined up. Great thing about this industry, man, you make friends, friends go away, friends come back. And I tell you what, some old friends are back with a new face. So how about introducing our guest? And I can't wait to catch up with these folks.
Eric, I'd love to. We're going to introduce Steve Shaw, the Vice President of Marketing for Sierra Monitor. Welcome to the show, Steve. It's good to see you, and good to see Sierra Monitor back on Controltrends.
Yeah, welcome,
Hey,
Steve.
thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, let's bring our community up to speed right off the bat, because lots of changes been going on there. I mean, they remember Varun, the godfather of networks. And like I said, the Italians came and told me I couldn't say that anymore. So that was Kenny Smyers that said that. But bring our community up to speed on what's going on with Sierra.
Absolutely. Well, Sierra Monitor's been in the business for 40 years, really got into building automation about 15 plus years ago. And there have been some changes, like you said. Varun came in and really shook things up and put a new coat of paint on sort of an older story and got us connected to the cloud. And then moving forward, just recently we were acquired by MSA, Mine Safety Appliances, out of Pittsburgh. Really with a focus towards our IoT products, our BACnet products, our gateways, our protocol gateways, and really sort of our story around how we're able to take technology out of the building and put it into the cloud and really start to build out that connected infrastructure that our customers are really starting to look for.
Sure. I remember when IoT began, let's just say that the buzzword started maybe like 5 years ago, but really got heavy 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. Sierra Monitor took the lead and they did the IIoT because they knew they were experts and could provide a lot of insight, and they gave a lot of good information away. We posted many posts from Sierra Monitor about network and about, the opportunities to, not be afraid of it, embrace it.
We're having some internet problems today, folks. God has decided to put the wrath of rain on Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So Kenny's kind of going in and out a little bit, but
it has. It's.
But the question I would have for you, Steve, is for our community who maybe is turning in for the first time, hadn't been tracking Sierra Monitor all along, tell our community what Sierra does.
Absolutely. So the value that Sierra brings to the table is the ability to kind of get the data out of the pieces of equipment that sit there that you're having the most trouble getting connected. And so if you've got older equipment, you got stuff that you need to get onto a BACnet network, we're really an expert in that. We've got kind of the Swiss Army knife protocol gateway, 140 different protocols, built-in BACnet Explorer, all sorts of physical interfaces, LAN, KNX, MBus, serial. We've got that Swiss Army knife that really builds, helps a systems integrator get those pieces of equipment connected, build out your building automation system, that sort of thing. That's really been the foundation of our business for the last 15 years.
Well, you guys have that, and you also, I think you guys have a couple of different divisions. I know a lot of our watchers are people that tune in are actually industrial folks, and you have something for them too. So we don't spend a lot of time, but sort of update them on some of the flame detection stuff you have at gas detection.
Absolutely. So Sierra Monitor got started 40 years ago in industrial gas and flame detection. So we've got a line of certified gas detection products that are used in a range of industrial applications, including oil and gas markets. We do a lot with alternative fuels, municipalities converting bus barns from diesel into into CNG or LNG. We do a lot of wastewater space as well. So, we've got a long history of protecting and delivering high quality certified products across the industry. And I think that rolls into what we're doing with the field service side of the house as well.
Well, yeah, I think it does too, and I think too it gives you sort of a because to do the industrial stuff is really, really tricky. And I mean, to have like an Exxon Mobil or somebody like you trust you on your network, I mean, you have to have a certain level of expertise, because I know a lot of people are concerned with cybersecurity and stuff like that. But sort of talk a little bit about how that translates to the security, if you will, on the building automation side.
Well, yeah, it's really forced us to raise our bar on the security side. You can imagine that oil and gas facilities have an extremely high requirement in terms of overall security for access and control. And that's really translated into what we've been able to do on the industrial IoT side. We put a whole a renewed focus on the security side of the house. We've gone out and got third-party testing to verify cloud security, gateway level security. We've really beefed up a lot of that in that space too. I mean, we don't want to be that name on the front line that said, "Uh-oh, it was the Sierra Monitor product that caused you the problem." We're definitely not going to be there.
Right.
Well, to that point, Steve, what security measures do you guys have? What's the boilerplate stuff that Sierra Monitor does well to keep it secure from the actual Sierra Monitor unit to the cloud?
Well, there's the basic stuff, which we do. We've tightened up all of the stuff at the gateway level and closed all the open backdoor stuff. I mean, in the old days, you put a piece of equipment at the facility, it could sit there for 10 years, no one would ever touch it. And, the security risk was that somebody found that thing in the basement and tried to hack into it. Now, with everything being connected over IP, we've got to bring the same level of security that you're going to expect from a corporate firewall into that box itself. But then there's a whole nother level on top of that too, in terms of tracking who logged in, what changes they made, sort of their authentication and authorization requirements, and making sure we've got that under control. And then, as I mentioned, to sort of verify this, a lot of times our customers don't want to just take our word for it. They want to hear from somebody else. We've gone to third parties to get that certification, to have someone else do that penetration test, to look at it from a different perspective and make sure we really are meeting the expectations of our customers.
Right. And because we just came back from a couple of, we were at the Worldcom IBCon show, and cybersecurity was the number one issue at hand, and you can't get enough people excited about it. So the thing that you guys do so well is that you can help people troubleshoot. So in other words, when you get started with Sierra Monitor, you come into the project at the beginning. So you have specifications, you have Salesforce out there, and you got your stuff specified as routed. But you also provide a lot of technical support. You have expertise that you can help people. They can contact Sierra Monitor and get solutions.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Our support team is kind of rock stars. I've been in the marketing role here for about almost 2 years now, and one of the first things I thought was, we need to put these guys on the front page of the company. They go the extra mile for our customers, and you can pretty much call us with anything, and we'll walk you through it. All of our guys have at least 10 years experience in the space in terms of supporting industrial protocols and configurations, and there's really nothing they haven't seen yet. So we should probably charge a little bit for support, but we don't. So feel free to give us a call and we'll walk you through it. I've heard the guys on the phone well past 6 o'clock, trying to get that one last thing up and running and make sure that the customer is successful. So.
Well, I want to just take a little bit of tangent on that, because I think that we all struggle as business owners or business managers to deliver that great technical support and customer support as well. And obviously at the heart of that is expertise, really knowing what you're talking about. But what are some of the other things that make a great technical support person? Assuming everything's equal, what's going to win over just great technical support?
Well, our guys all have a bit of a personality. Some of them are a little quirky, but the ability to connect with the guys in the field and to empathize with the problem. I think if you can put yourself in their position, and this poor guy is on site and he's been struggling for days or hours or whatever it is, and you just don't hang up until the job is done, then you're able to really build that relationship with them. And I think that's what pays off in the end for us.
That's so true.
You can't train it, right? It's either you got it or you don't. And our guys got it.
You know what? I think there's a lot to that. I mean, as much as people would like to think that that's not the case, and I think that's true with sales too. I think you can take somebody and make them better, or you can just hire a rock star. You know, not everybody's going to be John Lennon or Ken Smyers.
Well, I'll tell you. So my first job out of college, I did frontline technical support. I learned from a guy, Tom, who was a 3-time tour Navy SEAL in Vietnam, and he grilled into me the 3 R's of technical support: reboot, reinstall, reformat. And I remember him sitting there on the phone with guys like, let's put in disk number 22, back when you had the little floppies. Let's put in disk number 23 and reformat that hard drive. And I tell you what, he'd have calls. He'd be on the phone with that guy for an hour, but he got that thing up and running, and it's sort of ingrained in me as well.
I love it, man. That's
really impressive. Well, I and you're so true. I mean, that is the I think the differentiator. Eric always says everybody's got a great product, everybody's got a great solution. Just to get in the game, you have to have quality. You have to do. But then what really differentiates the companies is their marketing, the story that they tell, and you guys are doing a great job. You retold your whole marketing deployment, but also the reputation of your staff. When people they know that you're not going to leave them hang, and then do whatever it takes. So you guys have evolved. I think you started out in the boiler business, and I'm looking on your website. It's a great website. You did a good job. But you also now have gone from the routers, the gateways, experts in protocols and networks, to now cloud solutions. So
absolutely,
tell us about the evolution, how you guys now provide cloud level services.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's a natural evolution. We're all facing sort of the coming clouds. You can see them as storm clouds or an opportunity there. And like many protocol companies, we were sort of horizontal. We'd take data from one side, pass it through, translate it, that sort of thing. And it became very easy to kind of go vertical with it. Take that same data that was passing through the gateway center to the cloud. I would suggest, like most things, it's far more complicated than it looks from the onset. I mean, my job in marketing is to make it look simple, but I've watched our guys really build out the infrastructure to support this, and there's a lot of subtlety in there. As you mentioned, just the security protocols and who can connect and what data can they see, and starting to put those blocks in that says, look, maybe you just want to monitor. Maybe I don't want to have any write back, because a lot of sites really do have that level of protection that's in there. And one of the things that we see is missing in a lot of products is just basic device management. You've got that thing out there. How do you know if the gateway's working? How do you make sure that it's up to speed? We've invested a tremendous amount in sort of the foundational components that are needed to make sure that we can keep that thing running when it's out in the field and rolling as well.
Is that part of your new form factor, Steve?
The new form factor facilitates. So we went to a new form factor recently. You might know CR Monitor as the purple box company.
Yeah.
Certainly, I've been accosted by people at AHR and other shows. Yeah, I know you guys are the purple box company. We did revamp the form factor, put a bigger processor in there, a lot more memory, and that's really opened up a lot for us in terms of the power to be able to connect and deliver services into the cloud.
Yeah, for our audience out there that might be curious, the artist formerly known as Prince, back in Paisley Park. I mean, everything he loved you guys because they were purple. And is it true that Varun used to teach him some songs and stuff like that?
Well, I was reluctant to bring this up with you guys, but if you go out and you look through some of the stuff, you can find that I actually wore a purple suit that Prince would have been proud of to HR this year, back in January. I tell you, it's one of those things you can't unsee. You might want to be careful. Be sure you know what you're getting yourself into there. But it is shocking. But
can you, if you send us I tell you what, definitely send us a picture. We'll put it on your website someplace. We'll send a link so that people want to go. They can come to your website and see you in the purple suit. But listen, dude, you got me excited because you got the marketing background. You get marketing, you understand it, you love it. Kenny and I like to fancy ourselves as being somewhat of marketing mercenaries. I mean, we're fascinated by it. But when you say about the purple, it's interesting because there's a major player on the direct actuator business, Belimo, and their actuators are orange, right?
Right.
And
Exactly.
I mean, they just dominate the market. And it's like when people walk in and go, give me one of those orange actuators. And it's to the point that other people that make actuators in the industry have come and said, what can we do to compete with these guys? Said,
Right.
paint yours orange too. Right? I mean, it's like, but Kenny and I talk a lot about this. I'd like to really I'd like to get your sort of opinion on a couple of things. So in our industry, I mean, and you guys are an exception, obviously, because you kind of come in with it. But when you sort of look around at what others are doing in the industry, are you kind of going, how far behind are they? Or are they on par? And because I think you guys are sort of leading with that. I want to get to your sort of marketing message here in a minute, but just a general sort of observation for somebody who's an expert in marketing. I mean, when you look around, I mean, you kind of going, man, they don't get it, or they do get it, or what's the deal?
It's a big market. There's a lot of components out there. I would say that we've got a leadership in some areas. There's certainly more I'd like to see from the technology perspective. I do think we have pretty solid brand recognition in the marketplace, though. People know what we do and where we fit. And I think that has definitely paid dividends for us going forward. And in fact, to kind of build on that, I think one of the things that excites me about MSA coming in as a new owner is they see the untapped potential in the company itself. And, if we can sort of put a little bit more investment in, we just went through a little bit of a planning, and now one of my sales guys said, I don't have opportunity. In fact, they said, if you give me more resource, I can do even more with it. Nice. And I think that's part and parcel to the IIoT marketplace in general. I think it's just exploding all over the place. And so with a new owner, we're looking for the opportunity to really grow.
Okay. So Kenny, one more question for Steve, then ask yours. Okay. Because my question for you is, okay, being a marketing guy. Okay. So, because obviously you got to make it simple enough for people to understand. So somebody that's never heard of your company, that's in the industry, give them the value prop, the quick value prop. I mean, sum it up for them so they know exactly where you guys stand.
It is the Swiss Army knife of industrial protocol gateways. It brings it all to bear right there. As a marketing guy, you use that Swiss Army knife analogy all over the place, and I've used it in the past. This is the first time I felt like this really is that tool. If you're going to have one thing in your bag when you go on site, this is the box you want to have in your bag.
I completely agree. But it's the purple Swiss Army knife.
Yes.
All right, Kenny, what you got?
Don't get it confused with the red one. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Swiss Army knife, I get a kick out of it because I remember the very first time I got one of them. I was fascinated with it because I just, I thought how ingenious it was and how clever. But I think the thing that Sierra Monitor, to me, and in my experience, because you guys cross, you could do the industrial, you do the BAS, and then you also do OEMs. So, I mean, you've got multiple customer sets. Now, the perception of Sierra was, it was always, when you have a good, better, best, it was the Cadillac of the bunch. So if you really wanted to invest in the most quality tool, you had a choice, and you take Sierra Monitor. And then, but tell us the relationship you have. So you go to market with the building automation world through integrators. You have distribution,
for sure.
And then of course you have OEMs.
Yes.
So just tell us a little bit about that.
Right. Yeah. So we do segment the protocol gateway business into two components. One is sort of the systems integration business. We have a couple of distributors out there. We sell through Kelly. We sell through Alps. We've got a good partner up in Canada, a company called Shipkin that does a lot for us. And there's some other places you can certainly get the product as well. And then a whole slew of sort of recurring systems integration houses that either standardize on or heavily rely on our products. We do a lot of one-off deals as well. There's no doubt about it. We're finding a lot of traction on the OEM side, where manufacturers are buying direct and embedding our product directly into their system as well. And I think that's a large chunk of our business too.
Well, I'm looking on your website again. Great website, and you can tell us how to get there. But you've had some premier job applications like Levi Stadium. We covered that one. Eric and I had a chance to really understand what y'all did in that application and how the critical role you played in the successful deployment. What's the most exciting project in a while that you want to share?
Most exciting project? Well, that is definitely a marquee project for us. Levi Stadium, certainly very close to where we are here in Silicon Valley. is definitely a feather in our cap. We've got a new customer coming online who's really big in energy management and has really done some great things there. They've got a project or a program where they go to schools. They focus on the education vertical, and they really bring a promise to the school district where they're going to be able to save energy costs and really return that back to students and provide more funding back into the school districts. And I think having a noble mission along with a valid business plan, it really resonates with me as well.
Cool. Steve, I have one last question, and that is the talent pool. We think we are experiencing a shortage of talented people. How's Sierra Monitor dealing with that? Do you feel like you're affected by that, or do you have the ability to recruit the people that you need to make your organization stronger and sustainable?
It's tough, I tell you. It's very difficult for sure, and double difficult in Silicon Valley, where we're faced with the Googles and the Facebooks and all those kinds of guys out there as well. It takes a special person. It takes a special person to be able to bring the level of discipline and quality needed for industrial control. And it's sort of off the map a little bit. One of the things that we have, and is a little unique, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, is all of our engineering resources are in South Africa, in Johannesburg.
I did not know that.
No.
So we had a connection sort of before my time. Gordon, the founder of the company, and got connected with a guy named Benny DeWitt in Johannesburg. And where that's really paid dividends for us is Benny has a very clear view of how he wants to operate an engineering organization. He comes out of the military. He has high expectations for his guys. He's able to go into the top universities certainly in the country, but certainly in Johannesburg, pull people out of engineering, who are getting ready to graduate, and say, look, I can give you the Silicon Valley experience without leaving Johannesburg. I can get you plugged into leading edge technology right here in your home. And he gets the cream of the crop, and he starts people young, right out of school, or maybe one or two jobs, and he trains them in sort of the Sierra Monitor method. And
that's cool.
He's been extremely successful, tremendous loyalty. Really, I think he's only lost one guy, and the guy left to go work in the family business. It was more of a familiar commitment than anything else. So that's really been a strength of ours as well.
That's
awesome. Bodes well for the future.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And I think one of the components to great customer support is to have that longevity where,
right,
with the same person over time. So that's great.
Exactly.
Dude, I got to ask you something, man. That's kind of a cool looking hat you got on there. Can I see? What does that look like? Kenny and I are swag horse. Oh my goodness. Kenny, would you wear that hat? I know I would.
Yeah, of course I would. Yeah.
I bet our community would like some of those.
A Cami SMC hat? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that is really, really cool. So dude, how do people go ahead?
I was going to say, let me give you the backstory on it. So we were looking for a little something. Obviously, we have the industrial space. Would be something in oil and gas, that sort of thing. And I said, I think our customer base would appreciate a good camo, sort of thing. And we're poking around, and it turns out that there is a branded type of camo called oil field camo. So I'm giving them a plug here as well.
Nice.
If you were able to zoom in on it, it's actually little oil field things, and it's a branded thing. You go to the website, it's now a lifestyle brand. They have backpacks and all that sort of stuff, but this isn't your average camo. This is actually something special, guys. So I feel like you're worthy, but it's not just your average camo that's out there. So
well, hang on, dude. Now listen, here's the deal. I'm going to help you out here, Steve, because I'm a marketer. There you go.
Yeah.
So look, if you're going to be carrying around a purple Swiss Army knife, you definitely got to have one of those camo hats for sure. So,
to offset it, exactly. Well, I tell you what. Yeah. I was going to say, I tell you what, if you want to send in a comment, how should we do this? You want to send a comment into me? You want to send a comment into the show or something like that? What do you think?
Yeah, well, just put it in comments, on the YouTube channel or on the Controltrends post. We can take comments.
Okay.
There you go. And then, so were we going to give my hat? Or
I tell you what, the first 10 good comments in there, we'll go ahead and get you a hat. So my gift to you and your listeners. So,
well, dude, that's awesome. Well, let's do it this way because they need your email address anyway. Let's have them send you an email. Okay. Perfect. And then just all you got to do is in the subject line just put Ken and Eric sent us. They can put anything else. You'll send them a hat from there, right?
Absolutely.
And
so
then if 10 people reach out, you'll send me and Kenny a hat. We'll wear it on the show.
there you go. Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Well, just to put it out there, obviously CR Monitor is crmonitor.com, and I'm S. Shaw. That's Steve Shaw. So SSHAW at crmonitor.com. Love to hear from listeners, and go ahead and reach out. Top 10, we'll get you a hat. Love to.
All right.
Fantastic. Well, listen, dude, hopefully this will not be the last time we have you on. I know Varun and created so much value for us. I can tell, man, you're going to step right in and continue to do the same thing. So we'd like to get you on at least once a quarter if we could. Keep up.
I appreciate that. That sounds great.
Great.
Yeah.
Steve Shaw, thank you so much, man. The hat is cool. Remember this purple Swiss Army knife. I mean, if you're smart enough, you can carry this purple Swiss Army knife. So there you go.
Will
brother.
do.
Thanks,
All right.
Steve. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, Eric.
Nice.
Thanks, Kenny.
Steve,
All
thank
right.
you.
Man, I tell you what, Kenny, I love seeing, guys like Steve that really understand marketing. I think our industry is going to get better for it. And as Picasso once said, somebody once said, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. So I think, imitating what people like, Steve is doing with his marketing. And, but then Picasso said, imitation is the greatest form of thievery. So depending on which way you're going to go, either flatter somebody or steal from them, but just get your marketing going, right?
Right. And thank you, Steve, for offering to the Controltrends community the opportunity to get one of those fancy hats. Really sharp looking thing. And he's got quite a background. Wow. He's a true pro. He's been at this thing, his whole career has been dedicated to do these things as well as possible. And he really does deliver. So good for Sierra Monitor.
Well, yes. And dude, we got a lot on the website. We're not going to be able to go through it, but a couple of the big things, Kenny has definitely got some events that are coming up. So you definitely want to go to controltrends.com, check those events out, mark your calendars. Cause as one of my teachers used to say, and we've said on the show before, nothing is obvious to the uninformed.
It's sure. Yeah, well said. It was just a very, very interesting, busy week. There's some webinars, and you don't want to miss them because there's only one way to keep on top of stuff, and that is to get the cliff notes for as many things as you can. And we got another guest coming on, and we're going to talk about why.
Well, great cue. What do you say we just bring him on right now? He's queued up, ready to go. So how about introducing our next guest? Not that he needs an introduction, but introduce him anyway.
All right. Love to. We have Ken St. Clair, the owner, editor, and one of the most venerated people in the building automation HVAC industry. Welcome to the show, Ken St. Clair.
Welcome, Ken.
Thank you very much. It was great catching up with you guys at Nashville, although you were a blur as you captured what was going on in the show, and I was just standing there with my mouth open.
Dude, we need you there, buddy. We were looking for you, but let's start off, man. Let's talk Nashville because Ken, it for you, Notre Dame, Sinclair, it's almost got to be like the future, the vision that you had of the future is becoming a reality. So speak about what you saw there, and let's tee that off.
Well, it's kind of great. The Realcomm folks and automated buildings started exactly the same year in 1999. And so we're both going into our 21st year of trying to understand what the heck is going on in this industry. And I think Jim Young, Howard, and Lisa just knocked it out of the park. They pulled this thing together. It was a great event. Wondered why it was in Nashville. Once we got there, you can't see the sky for cranes, and you go to this venue that the floor appears. Who knew that the next thing we're going to be controlling is the floor, and all of a sudden you push a button and a couple of thousand seats pop up and it turns from this to that. Hybrid buildings, all kinds of neat stuff. Just blew me away. So many things going on, so many programs. I kept sticking my nose in to see what was going on, and I was having trouble leaving. I would just, this is interesting. I even got caught up in one that was on using digital screens in your buildings, and it talked about a dynamic art piece in Chicago that was constantly changing with a camera looking at outside the building, and then artificial intelligent algorithms were redrawing the picture, modern art, and this thing is like a 12 by 12 screen inside the lobby in a high-tech building. So you basically see a bus drive into the side of the picture, and then it basically turns into modern art before it hits the other side. Or you see the bus, or you see a marathon running by, and all the people start running into the picture, and they just. So it's like
hang
another
on,
world.
Whoa! Stop! I tell you what, I'm sorry I missed that. That is so cool. And I love art. I love paintings and stuff like that. And it's funny you should say that, because I thought that a guy named David Hockney was way ahead, where he started doing his art on iPads. You'd actually buy the iPad with his art on it. And when you go to a gallery, he'd have all these different iPads would be lined up with different pictures on it. But now what you're saying is that art is becoming not only literally transformative, right?
That would be impressive, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Ken. It may have been because we might have missed that, Eric, because we were interviewing a robot. we went to Rycon's booth as part of the conference live in the field with the. It was so much technology. I'm just looking down here at the sponsors and the case studies, and again, 2,500 people. So it was clearly the Realcomm Ivicon concept is catching on. It's drawing more people from the neighboring industries and neighboring technologies. And what's happening is this technology is merging. It's converging. Like you would always, I remember the collaboration things you did 7 years ago, 8 years ago. You talk about how things happen when people collaborate, and it's much quicker. And so you saw that collaboration with a Microsoft pavilion with 32 vendors inside of it, taking Microsoft's cloud and then applying it to their own individual business. And we're talking big people. We're talking Johnson Controls. We're talking Honeywell. We're talking Eaton. You're talking about some big players playing friendly with another massive player and getting technology deployed at a rate that kind of like you said, it was overwhelming.
Actually, I'd like to add to that is that I actually that was one of the ones I went to, was the executive summary from Microsoft. And it started with, we have closed down the Windows division, which I thought was an amazing start. And basically, no more software in boxes. We're basically, everything is software as a service. But in that message, also you talk the connection to the big, but it also allows the connection to the small.
Right.
If we take a look at little Contemporaries Raspberry connects directly to Azure's database. So these are like giant leaps. And I was just totally blown away by all of that as well.
Well, Ken Sinclair, let me get your opinion. So how does that affect our traditional players from building automation controls? So you've got a background like we do, you were with Johnson Controls and stuff like that. How do you see it affecting business as usual?
I think it's going to put pressure on us to step up our game and get these sensors to be developing new sensors, basically figuring out how to best install them, how to best make sure that they're accurate. It's business as usual. It's just we're going to have a myriad of more sensors, more products. The engineering services are going to be much more of what we sell. We are becoming IT, and that's what I wrote in my last article before the one that's online right now. And basically, we're just being drawn into this. Like in the early days, we thought IT was going to devastate us, and I don't think it's devastating us at all. I think it's going to acknowledge, and it has acknowledged, that we're in a very complex building. We have a lot of relationships we have to create. We have a lot of big equipment that we have to protect, and we have to be those in-between people. And the people who understand both sides of that have a little inkling of what this IT stuff is all about, and the traditional business, are golden. We need those people. We seek them out. We pay them well, and we try to figure out how to amplify them. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. Now, we picked up our theme for July, and we've called it the recalibration theme, which was amazing. It's a great word. When I first heard it, I wasn't so sure, but when I got there, that is really what is happening. We're not really changing our industry. We're just take a look. You're heading in this direction, but now you got some new tools, you got some new measured variables, you got some whole bunch of new things. You just need to do a head shake and recalibrate yourself. So I'm picking up on that theme, and I'm calling it recalibration for 2020 vision. And I'm playing on a bunch of words, as I always do, my shotgun approach of splurting on words and trying to hope that one of them actually makes sense. Anyway, the 2020 is of course, we're hard at planning the program for AHR Orlando 2020. And so the 2020 is the actual year, 2020. And you and Controltrends and everybody in the industry it was kind of the catchphrase is, in 2020, this is going to happen. Well, 2020 is here, and we haven't made it all happen yet. But as you were just telling me at the start of the show, you saw a lot of it starting to happen. So I'm kind of wanting this, our July issue is to be kind of a, let's play it forward. Let's not stop what Jim and Howard and Lisa have started. Let's all, as an industry, let's keep pushing this forward, and that's maybe our goal is to try and get our heads around what it is we're doing by 2020.
So Kenny, I want you just 1 second, but what I want to say to our community is, if you did miss Nashville, Ken's got a great recap. The July issue is coming out of automatedbuildings.com. As a matter of fact, by the time you get this, you're probably within a day of seeing it. So great recap. We've seen some of the previews for it, Ken. So well done as usual on that on the July issue. But yeah, Kenny, tell Ken and our community a little about what we saw yesterday. Because to your point, I mean, we both looked at each other and go, "Damn, Ken Sinclair, he's been calling us, and here it is."
Well, Eric, the first thing I want to say is, Ken, you're right about that recalibration. I too, because we do a lot of recalibration in our industry. We take carbon monoxide sensors and we have to recalibrate them. We have to put test gas and bump them and turn the jeweler screw and literally get the device recalibrated. So at first I was having some curious thoughts about the current term recalibration, but then I remembered something that Eric said when you talked about one of your teachers about the procession. In other words, you start out heading direct north, and then all of a sudden you collide with a concept, collide with some new technology, and you deviate. You make a 45-degree change of where you were headed initially. So many times you don't wind up where you thought you were headed. You change, but then when you have this experience and technology changes the way you're thinking, you have to recalibrate your business. You have to recalibrate your professional. Sometimes your talents, your skills. Sometimes you find out, like you said, we have to learn IT. So what does that mean? That means you're going to start understanding what a router is, what a hub is, what a switch is, what an unmanaged switch is. And now, not only are we understanding them, but we're beginning to sell them. Now we have an opportunity. But to Eric's point, the Distech it was the district center in Washington, D.C., rises above the rest. It came off of your website. It was a June 2019 release where I got that's when I did my prep work and research for this building. I Googled it, and the first thing that came up was Automated Buildings article. So congratulations on that. But what it was that they have a unified project of the year. Every 2 years, they give an award out. And out of 500 submissions, the district center, located at 555 12th Street Northwest in the heart of DC's historic downtown. 20-year-old building, was finished in 1998, and then it's been updated and renewed by a building owner, MetLife Investment Company. Now, the thing that we saw was that the combination of professional players down there, which would be Acuity Brands, Distech, of course, Lithonia Lighting. You had the incredible talented people that from the contractor level, they were the Smart Building Technologies. We met Journey Williams and Paul Meng. But the guy that really impressed me the most, Eric, and what do you think about this too, was that Jan Palmore, Vice President, Jones Lange Lasalle, Smart Building Program Americas. Those things that you talked about, where we're getting the touchy-feely, and you had this personality of a building, where it actually would welcome you in a way that you felt you were somewhere different. Having the ability to speak into an acoustic sensor, being invited to a more a comfortable environment through a lighting system that could almost determine your preferences. You could actually look down at the thermal imaging of the floor you're at, and if you wanted to go find a conference room that had the cooler side of it, in other words, they actually had a thermal image where you could go into the zone that didn't have, it was away from the sun. So it was incredible what you had. And then what it was really designed to do was be future proof. In other words, they put a platform and a framework in place using all the, the players that we know of, the Niagara, the Distech, the incredible Eclipse and the Unity, the lighting, to create a unified technology building that could take people's apps. So what the Jones Lange Lasalle, what Jan said was he invited anybody to create an API to take advantage of this prepared building. And some of the concepts that they were coming up, some of the apps were almost off the wall, but they weren't off the wall. You can order your lunch now. You could say, hey, hey Google, or hey Siri, or whatever, what's the special today? And it tells you what the menu is. And you say, okay, give me one of these, one of these. So the concept was that frictionless. Remember you said about frictionless and using voice to the maximum event, and having one sensor that had all that stuff. I mean, I could go on for 20, 30 minutes.
Go ahead. Hang on, Otto, real quick. No, but here's the deal. And the guy from MetLife that owned the building was there too. And you know what? They said the building had been Sinclaired. That's the new technical term. The building has been Sinclaired. But Ken, I swear, all the stuff that you've been saying over the years, especially recently, I mean, we heard it from the owner of the building to the guy from Jones Lange Lasalle and everything else. And dude, like I said, we videoed the tour. The building's been Sinclaired. That's a new technical term. So,
yeah, I like that. I'm writing that down.
Yeah. So
well, thank you very much. Actually, you'll like the July issue, because what it does is it goes back and it plays on a 20-year-old article we have still on our website, which was our opening article for automated buildings, and it was called "Your Building as a .com." And so it was your building address as a .com, and from that you built a website that was your building, and you started to put all of these things. And it actually, for a 20-year-old article, it reads pretty well. So what I've done is I've gone through and I've pulled some parallels, and I've said that we're almost back in the .com era. When you take a look at what was going on there in Nashville, there was 100 exhibitors, there was probably 30 platforms, and so it is very much .com days. And so taking a look at that, what's happened is the building, your building as a URL is evolved to your building as a platform. But the other thing that starts to pull out of that is, are we back in the .com days, and is all of this going to .crash? And but I don't know, because when I take a look at these mini platforms, the common thing that makes them work is Teresa's invention of the community of practice. And what really made it work, and what made it work in the building that you saw, was there's a whole bunch of people that are all focused on making that happen, and they are the community of practice of that building.
Absolutely.
They're using that platform. Actually, when I used to do energy work, one of the guys I worked for, he gave me, I think it was a compliment. He said, you could save energy with rubber bands and paper clips. And it's basically more the spirit of the crowd, the spirit of the innovation of folks saying, well, we could do this, we can do that, with piecing this all together. Once you remove, I'm concerned, because what I saw as a trend, again, that's what I was trying to do at Nashville while you guys were capturing a lot of good thought. I was trying to figure out, what is all this good thought going to mean to our industry? And one of the things is that if these platforms, what's happened is they've all developed them, and they've developed them with a community of practice. They've done an amazing job, and now they're trying to sell it as a product. But I don't think it's a product. I think the platform without its community of practice is pretty bare. So anyway, that's just
but there was a piece, Kenny, that we took away yesterday, because one of the questions was it, how expensive was it? And this gets back to the community of practice, because what they said, we heard 3 or 4 times, is Yeah, the first time was a bear figuring it out, but now we've learned. So from now on, it's going to be easier, right? So the reason you'd want to participate in the community of practice and work on a project is, my guess is next time they do a building, they're going to bring the same players back in because they know how to do it. They work together, they collaborated, and now it becomes more scalable. Whereas if you bring new players in every single time, they got to figure it out because it's more than just the specs. And that was another piece that came out. Yeah, somebody could write the specs, but then actually making the different pieces talk. So I can almost see that going forward, to your point, is that you're going to have clusters of people that are going to maybe almost like a lost leader. It takes them a while to figure it out, but once they get it figured out, they're going to work together on future jobs. I think it could eliminate, not eliminate, but I think it could be another way of thinking about the most cost-effective way to get the best product in your building. Forget the big spec stuff.
I think what you picked up on there is you've picked up that there was one community of practice per platform, which is probably true, but they are a mosaic of other communities of practice. Let's take the audio guy. This is like a whole new measured variable for us to actually measure sound in a building and basically heat map it as to where's the quietest spot in the building, although it becomes an obvious thing now that we see it. That person is in a community of practice of audio sound within a building. He will reappear in every platform. So each community of practice is actually made up of small pieces of community of practice. You're going to have a BACnet community of practice. You're going to have a NAGR community of practice. You're going to have a sound. So these people will group together, and they'll be like, who did that project? Who was the guy that was doing that, was pushing that? So that's the way I sort of see this assemble. But there's a common theme here. It's not technology that's becoming the winner here. It's the people that can basically push the technology and understand and can work in these teams. And we're starting to work exactly like the software. We are becoming IT. We're becoming agile. We go to a project, we start pulling all these pieces together. We go out on the internet and we ask, we say, this has never been done before. Any ideas how we might do it? And that's how stuff gets built. I mean, that's how IT works. So we are actually becoming those people, and we are the people focused on buildings.
Well, guys, you're hitting on, this is fun. I'm glad we're recording it because I think it actually now, the community practice, just to give you, some testimony to your community practice, when they did the presentation yesterday, they had to stop at some point and hand it off to the expert in that particular field. So yesterday we talked about there was a reservation expert who sold the software, and they credited Distech having this open system so that actually Acuity's lighting system was the harness. It was the framework. I might have mentioned Niagara, but in this particular case, it was the Acuity's software that was open, and the Distech was open. Now, what happened was these people from the reservation, unfortunately I don't have his card, but we'll have it in the Controltrends when we got it on video. But he had to explain what his software did and what it allowed you to do, and it was all the appointments, the conferencing, so basically they had a locator, a interior GPS system that the sensors tracked you by your phone. So the entry control point, you didn't have an access card or a fob, you had your phone. So it was a high tech right off the bat. You came into the building using your phone. And so, all those things you had talked about, making it frictionless and utilizing one device to empower the occupant to get totally immersed into the building's capabilities. And we actually saw this, on display, but they had Optigo in there for the BACnet networking to clean the plumbing and find out where the network issues were. They had Jones Lange Lasalle, who provided the oversight and contract management. They had, the MetLife owner. He came yesterday. He said, maybe if I hear this presentation 12 more times, I'll understand what exactly you all have done to my building, but I love it. Then you had the smart BT, the building technologies, the contract, and there was probably 3 more, but that community of practice was there in person. And these were all vice presidents, executives, or whatever, because what, like to Eric's point, what they're establishing is not only a building precedent of expectation, a level of performance, but that they're saying that this has got to be specified. This has got to be a standard. They can't accept anything less than this. Anything that would come in the next building, and the first cost they talked about.
But you're right, Kitty, but it's beyond the spec.
No, they're going to create it. They have, what he said was Jones Lange Lasalle has a specification for building automation now. And
Right.
anybody that works on their buildings, this will become their specification.
Yeah, but what I heard him say, and I think what Ken was alluding to is, yeah, you can put the spec out, but it's that team that came together that's going to get the scalability, because you can have the spec, but then
Well, I'm just saying that the teams will clone. They'll clone. Not clone. Clone. Now you give me another. Yeah, jeez. Another mistake for me here. Let me put an X on my damn. Okay.
Actually, let me add some new words. It will not be a specification, because we have to look like IT people. So we need a Scrum Master who's going to pull a Scrum together, and the Scrum is the basic, IoT. When you're developing a new idea, you have to be agile. You have to, because when you're working in the soft world, there's no walls. There's no, it's got to be this, or like often we start and we know the answer or what the answer is going to be. When you're starting to do this kind of thing and they start their next building, they're not going to be able to they can make a cookie cutter copy of that one, but it'll have the warts and wrinkles of that one, and probably even be worse because it doesn't fit the new building. But if they go in with an open mind, they've got a Scrum Master, and he's basically pulling all of these communities of practice together, and knows how to put this together. The team comes together, and they make this thing happen. The platform is important, because what I think the thing that did get proved out of Nashville is there is a platform in your future, but to me it is not that important as to what platform we use. I saw them; they're all good. They all were capable of doing what
they got to be open.
do.
That was the first thing Jones Lange said. The first step was the platform has to be open.
Right, good. Guys. I was coming to the final point, so I said specification standard, and to your point, I like that Scrum thing and the soft thing having no walls. But what I was getting to was the question was, somebody asked twice. It was asked, how much does it cost? How much does this technology cost? And the guy from Jones Lange Lasalle, Jan, he smiled, because obviously the first version of this is not he said this is not cheap, or he didn't say the word cheap. He said this is a commitment or whatever. And to Eric's point, once you created the user experience, then you reverse engineer it to whatever building it is or whatever. So to your point about the Scrum Master, in other words, when you're trying to get an occupant satisfied, what's going to make that occupant satisfied? It's going to include a lot of these things we saw right here. But you're going to have that framework. It's going to have to be open. But then each building represents so the gentleman, Jan, said each building represents its own sets of challenges, but we've got a direction. We know what we want, and we will know what the occupant wants. If you want to have, so they're going to use this as a showcase, right? They're going to say, this is potentially the way we could go. And then you could associate the costs to the technology. But I just thought it was kind of, this is the end product, and how did you get there, so that you could actually reverse engineer basically who the players were, what they did, and you could start assigning responsibilities and expectations. And then again, we were using the term master systems integrator to the point where, it's been maybe overrun by, interpretation or subjective, opinions of what a master systems integrator is. And they're actually converting it to another name, where if you're really and truly at the top dog and you understand IT, and you're coming in with a general contractor at that level, so you're part of the planning process before anything's purchased or designed, you've got that Scrum Master kind of earmarked, who's going to be ultimately responsible that all this stuff can integrate to become an example of unified technology.
Get back to your question on how much does it cost. My report there would have been is how much can it save? And of course, Jones LaSalle is the leader in that. They're basically the guys that have floated across the floor and said, it's not a 330, 300, it's a 330, 300, 3000. And they're talking about, what if this new building attracted 50 new software people who were inspired by it, and they came to work in that building because of them.
Bingo.
So now your old adage about what did it cost, it doesn't matter what it cost. If I got those people in the building, and because we're fighting the market out there for that. Okay, that's one thing. Back to your naming of the MSI, I've got a great article from Scott in our July issue called Data Diving. So they're going to be called data divers. I love that.
Hey, there we go.
The new MSIs are data divers. And also on the community of practice, to close up on that, we've got the great article from Therese, and she does the capture with, let me get his name right here, Mike Westerfield. And you guys were there, right? You were running that, and Mike came on, and that's basically what he talked about, is that the Niagara platform is basically takes together all these communities of practice. So we're starting to see this pattern happening, and I think it's almost a good thing for us as an industry, and you guys too, is when you meet somebody, it's just like, which communities of practice do you belong to? I belong to the BACnet one. I belong to the Johnson one. I belong to. I'm kind of interested in Beam. We've been doing some Beam work, and so there's probably, just because physically we can't do everything, everybody carries maybe 5 to 10 of these things that they're really good at.
Well, listen, Ken, we could go on forever. This is such great conversation as always, and at a certain point in time, we're going to have to sort of. I think now's the time we're going to have to sort of bring it back in a little bit. There was another really, really good article, and I think this is very timely as well, that Brad White wrote. And speak about that, about some of the stuff going on with the climate and sort of how that applies.
Yeah, Brad actually asked me, he says, can I write this article, because it's not so much about building automation, but it is about building automation. But the city he lives in, the city that's next to us, is Vancouver, Canada, and Vancouver, Canada has declared a climate emergency. And so they basically have put a plan in place to start moving away from carbon, and they put some hard dates on it. In all fairness, it's easier for Vancouver to do that than probably any city in the world, because all of our electricity comes from water over a dam. So we are relatively green, and the idea of moving to electricity from carbon makes a lot of sense. Anyway, that hot on the heels of that, he sent a CNN news announcement that New York City has also declared a climate emergency. I think this is an interesting trend, because we've been kind of watching our governments, both of our governments, flounder with this whole thing, not being able to put their arms around it because they're afraid the people won't vote for them if they do, because it's not a very nice thing. But it's interesting, the cities are sticking their noses right in there, getting ready to get hit, and they're actually making the changes. They're putting in electric car charging, they're putting in electric bike lanes, and so what we have is the cities are leading this climate change. It's kind of a different approach, but it is going to mean a lot, the decarbonization, and actually they're calling it democracy as well, of energy. It's going to change how we look at it. It's going to add a lot more complexity to our buildings. It's if you take a look at a net zero building, there's a lot of control in there. So I think it's going to radically change our industry.
Okay, Otto Ken Sinclair, man, the July issue's out. It's awesome. Anything else you want to hit on before we hop off?
We're all hard at putting together our programs for AHR. I'm excited that we've got Therese committed to putting on a Women in Control, I'm calling it. We're going to have Therese rename it to something that'll probably be a little more palatable for the ladies, but it'll be our first ever trying to attract more females to our industry. That's going to be happening in Orlando. Also, both Scott and Brad and I have a meeting next Tuesday. We're putting together our opening keynote. Scott's going to decide what he's going to call Master Systems Integrators and put his program together for that. I've also been talking to Anto. He's got a whole security program like he did last year. So our heads are deep in 2020, sorry, and hope to see you all there. And I know you guys have got a lot of plans for that event as well. So
well, you can see Ken Sinclair and all the other luminaries at the Control Trends Awards as well as AHR. Well, listen, Ken Sinclair, man, thank you so much as always. We appreciate it. We'll see you in 1st of August for our community out there. Be sure to check the July issue out. You can get that at automatedbuildings.com. And Otto, man, go kiss a tree or something, man. Thanks for being on the show, brother. All right, man. Great stuff from Ken Sinclair, Kenny. And like I said, we talked a bit about you. Kenny and I were in Washington, D.C. yesterday, covering an amazing event. And Kenny, let's give that a little bit more formal sort of breakdown for our community. We sort of alluded to it and talked about it with our interview with Ken, but yeah, congratulations to Laurent from Acuity and the rest of the team from Distech and all the players that were involved in the District Center in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience because we've beaten it to death a little bit, but you can't say it enough. And that is that this technology's here. One of the things we took away from Realcomm, IBCOM, and recalibration was all the technology's here. It's just a matter of adoption. It's a matter of implementation. It's a matter of sorting through it, getting your teams together, getting that community of providers, and getting separating the wheat from the chaff. Chaff or chafe? Chaff.
Well, you use the word cacophony, so chaff and chafe. Who cares, right?
Well, and then I have the eclectic. I can do all my spelling mistakes here in a row now because I'm getting the complex.
Okay. Yeah.
But Eric, it was an amazing thing. It was the unified project of the year from the Distech world. Distech Controls is truly an innovation leader of technology. Unified technology is what it's all about. Out of 500 submissions, they picked one, and that was the District Center in Washington, D.C. We got to see the incredible collaboration, the incredible team put together from the ownership through the management team. JLL is truly a real estate leader, and the gentleman that we got to work with. Y'all Palmore, Vice President of JLL Smart Building Program Americas, is just fabulous. Because he just was so fluent in what everything was coming together as technology. So unified technology converged in this building, 555 12th Street, and it was spooky to the point because it was just too cool. I mean, the capabilities that building had, it was so beautiful too. I mean, it had the big marble front. It was owned by lawyers previously, and now it's just turning into number one.
It's a beautiful building, Kenny, but to your point, I mean, we've talked about it, and and I've seen components of it in different buildings, but this might be the first building I actually saw where it actually all came together. And that was pretty amazing. And listen, I want to, put my hats off to the marketing team at Acuity and Distech. We talked about marketing a little bit with Steve, but you talk about another company that really, really gets it. Distech Acuity does. Everybody from Monica to Lauren Scott to Laura Jane. Think about what they did. I mean, not only did they pull it together from a technology point of view, but now they've got the message out. I mean, they brought us in for crying out loud. So the world can see this. You can go to we'll have it on Control Trends right now. It's on the YouTube channel, but we actually walked through, we live streamed the whole thing. So it's like if you weren't there, it was like you were there. And, that was, again, we appreciate being invited by, savvy marketing folks to cover events like that because we love being right there with it. But the fact that they asked and encouraged it, I think just speaks well to the fact that not only the Distech and Acuity have great products, but they have great marketing people. So again,
great leadership too. Yeah, I met Laurent, and then Scott Hamilton did a great job at the presentation. But there was pride there. It was just, these guys were so proud of that project because they knew they nailed it. They knew they basically brought that technology together, and it functioned, and they could show it off. And walking around with your phone, opening and closing doors, and turning lights off, and getting schedules, and getting the information pushed to you as you're walking through, and the internal, global GPS inside of a building concept. What is it? So basically what it does is it sets it is a manifestation of technology that could be reviewed and verified. There's no longer that, it's not just, vaporware, and it's there and it works.
Well, the analogy, we were talking to Laurent from Acuity, the president of Acuity, and the elevators were doing the tour, and it was kind of like, it goes back to the analogy of, there was, throughout history until what was it, 1930 or whatever, people thought it was impossible for a human being to run a 4-minute mile. They literally thought people would roll over and die if they did it, right? And from the beginning of time till they started running track until 1930 or 32, when I forget the guy's name, Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, it was humanly thought impossible. Now, here's what was interesting. He did it, and then within 3 years after that, like 50 people had run a 4-minute mile. So there's always that first person that breaks it and proves that something's possible. And I think that's what we saw yesterday.
Well, you believe in synchronicity and whatever. Last night I was watching television, and I watched 5 women run a mile under 4 minutes. And a woman had set her personal best. She did like 3:56. And then there was 4 other women behind her that got 3.59. It was like 3 came in at the same time. But to your point, it was, but I get that synchronicity. You can cut that out if you want.
Truly was a miler back in the day.
Wow.
You know what time was? 4 minutes, 32 seconds.
That's pretty darn good.
It takes me 4 minutes and 32 seconds to walk up the stairs now, but it's a different story.
I'll tell you what, that's cruising. I think the best I ever did was we played football, and when you went in coming into the football season, you were timed in the mile. Backs and receivers had to run a mile, and I think it was 5:42 or better. Yeah, but I always did it, but it was hard.
Yeah, but my point being is that 99% of there are a lot of people that run a better time than that now, but back in the day in high school,
I agree.
That was considered a good time. And now if you're not breaking 4 minutes in high school, you're not relevant in track. So it's good stuff. And again, congratulations to those folks. Kenny, something else that we sort of got onto with Ken Sinclair was, Brad White's article. And so what did you think about that?
Well, I applaud it. Okay.
I got that piece. I'll edit that in. Okay.
Sure.
I'll come out of that and go, well, Kenny, that was eloquently said, buddy. Eloquently said. So,
how do you feel? How do you really feel about things? Now, the decarbonization, electrification, resilience, I love it. We need to put that into every conversation, but we really, we're stewards, like I said, it begins with you. Each individual needs to pick up, an attitude about it and enforce themselves to
I'm
live by it.
Kind of surprised you hadn't changed the name of the football team from the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Pittsburgh Fishermen or something like that. The Pittsburgh Trouts.
Nah, Pittsburgh Bass. No.
Pittsburgh Bass. I like that. Yeah.
I realized. Well, Bass is. Who do you think about Bass? As soon as you say the word Bass, I think Roger Rebenak.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Roger Rebenak. Yeah, Roger. If you don't know him, with Jackson Controls, big fan of the show and Controltrends Awards, and actually a sponsor of the Controltrends Awards this year. Rod just come on as a platinum sponsor again, and I hate to tell you guys that I don't want to be Platinum's. Rogers already demanded that he gets more tickets and better seating than anybody else. And that's one of the perks of becoming an early sponsor for the Controltrends Awards. If you're interested, Kenny and I will be putting the details out in July. But hey, if you're interested, you can reach out ahead. Some people already have Easy.io. We got several people that have already come on as platinum sponsors. It's going to be spectacular this year. It's going to be our best one yet. It's in conjunction with the Super Bowl. We're starting early so the Controltrends Awards can be over. Then we're bringing in these massive TV sets. And so you'll be able to watch the Super Bowl, and it's going to be quite the party. Lots of surprises there. Rumor has it that possibly the Miami Dolphins or maybe Tampa Bay Bucks cheerleaders will be there, but we will neither confirm or deny that. But our platinum sponsors will know. And so listen, so we got that going on. What else, Kenny? Let's sort of wrap this bad boy up because you might get
Well, well, yeah, we're having another great day of weather here in Pittsburgh. It's like I don't know what, some biblical thing where we're getting 7 days of pestilence, rain, and whatever. No, I'm kidding. It's just storming, and the thunder and lightning out there is spectacular. So my screen, I'm getting that warning that I might lose my connection. But just the last thing I wanted to just say that the new Marvel effect of the pictures with Jim Young wraps up 2019 Realcomm IBCon with Controltrends. It was the most successful conference ever. We could talk about it, and we will continue to talk about it. But some of the great posts there. If you didn't make it and you want to know what happened, Realcomm IBCon and Controltrends have put together a whole lot of video coverage, and it introduces the people, the players, the technology leaders, and the end users. Got a lot of relevant discussion, relevant exchange of information that Tom Shercliffe, Realcomm, IBCon, Intelligent Buildings, the real cybersecurity solutions. Great 7 minutes of video coverage of what's going on, how you can have a great cybersecurity start, get a program going, but if you don't follow through with monitoring, boom, you get let down because. And then we're seeing some of the great stuff. We have To the Victor Go the Spoils. We've got Mr. Victor coming in with Iodium, and how people bring their devices to work. They put in thumb drives into computers now. How do you manage this relentless vulnerability if you can't get teamwork? If you can't, everybody in the organization has to understand that there's a threat, and you got to get involved in protecting the organization's network. So great stuff there. I really like that running robot, the SmartCom Rycom driving building performance. We're talking to a computer, and when I talked to it, the hearts went off. Yeah. You got the flashing lights. I got that.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
I touched it and it said, "Stop touching me. That's inappropriate."
Anyhow, there's just a lot of stuff. And again, your post, Never Go to Bed Angry. Tell me, give us the 2-minute synopsis on that.
Wow, somebody's actually calling me. You should know better than to call me when I'm recording the show. Well, just read the article. So I think Kenny and I have been around the industry for a long time, and the gist of that was, hang on one second. It was that robot from Rycon calling.
Yeah, there you go.
It's asking me out on a date. Well, it was, as you guys may or may not know, I've been really trying to study the marketing stuff. So I've been taking some courses with some copywriters like Agora and stuff like that. And this was an email headline. It got my attention, right? So, it's like you got to capture people's attention. And part of marketing, part of copywriting is, you've got to capture their attention in this society where we're bombarded with so many things. So the title caught me. Don't go to bed angry, stay up and fight, right? And it got me thinking about perseverance, and it got me thinking about sales and the differentiator and so on and so forth. So you have to read it, but the gist of it is, you never give up. And one of the statistics was that 80% of the sales are made after the 5th follow-up call. And 44% of the people give up after the first call. Once they're told no, they never follow up. So there's a huge opportunity. A huge opportunity just by persevering. And sort of the gist of it, and this gets back with me and Kenny becoming marketing mercenaries, is that, he and I have done a lot over the years. We have almost 40 years between the two of us. So we know a lot of what doesn't work, but we also know some things that do work. And one of my teachers used to say that if what you're doing is not working, try anything else. And Kenny, I've done a lot of anything else's over the years. So my premise was, well, okay, perseverance wins in the long run. Well, the long run can be a really, really long time. Then, how can you shorten that down? So we're sort of proposing, or at least I proposed, and I think I've got 2 more spots left, that if you've got a client that you can't get in to see, and, just somebody that's a dead end, and you want a script written, a custom script that you can use to try the next time, that you can reach out to me and I'll write a script using some of this stuff that we've learned over the years, And but again, it gets back to the theme we keep coming back to. The technology's there. I mean, if you're still in this game, it's because you've got great technology and great customer support and great service, and you got people that are out there knocking on doors. But how are you going to win? Well, you're going to win with your messaging and your salespeople. That's ultimately what's going to win in the long run, in my humble opinion, as a marketing mercenary. And this is all self-serving, because Kenny and I will eventually be charging for this stuff. So get it now while you can for free.
Sounds good, Eric. And then the last post to cover real quick is that EasyIO has come out with a new concept, new touchscreen room sensors that are really slick. It's all in the touch. And then once again, thank you to DG Lux. We're coming up to the end of June. Can you believe that this is going to be July tomorrow? And it's kind of frightening to think how fast time's going. I don't. I mean, so much time.
It doesn't frighten me until I look at pictures of us like a year or two ago, and then it gets frightening when you realize.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't feel older, but I sure as heck am looking older. So.
Hey, you know what? Hey, you can play games and say it's all in your mind. It's all in your attitude. It's all in your what do you. But the thing is that there's a lot of important traffic that seems to have accelerated. And we talked, remember the old days, the old word was disruption. I haven't said the word disruption until just now, but because it's not even disruption anymore. Disruption is the norm.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even catch your attention anymore. You expect it, just to be collided into every day with some kind of a new announcement of technology. But again, so in summary, we saw a great deployment of technology. It was the single most unified version of technology that I personally have ever seen, and walked through and saw it in actual operation, and see the magic that's there. That you're only limited now truly by your whims. That's what the person said. What do you want to do? And we could probably do that. We have a framework that can do that. And then we saw that the technology at the Realcomm IBCon, I'm still, after talking with Ken St. Clair again today, there was just so much technology, and it's all there, and the people are poised and ready to sell it. They've got their partners lined up, so you got that gap between getting what you want done and who's going to do it. They got the players now lined up. They've got their team, and we have the as Ken St. Clair.
Giddy, Kenny. You sound positively giddy about this.
I'm not giddy, but just excited.
No, I got you. It's a good thing. But listen, dude, we've been going on for a long time, and I want you to be prepared for that tornado. And remember the Tin Man, the Lion, the yellow. Just follow the yellow brick road if the house gets going. Okay?
And the red ruby slippers. I got you. No place like home.
All right. Well, there you go, man. A special thanks to our guest this week, Steve Shaw from Sierra Monitor, and of course the one, the only Otto Ken Sinclair. Man, it's been a great week. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Until then, remember, be bold, stay in control, come up with a march, be disruptive, but be effectively disruptive. And that's how you'll be relevant.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny.